We talk about technology today on Lincoln Fire and Rescue. We are very glad that you have joined us here on 5 City TV. Before we're through today, you will know about MVAs. You will know about CADs, CADs. You'll know about AEDs, MDCs, and MDTs. That's a lot of the alphabet. But I have Battalion Chief Eric Jones here to tell us all about it, to tell us what those abbreviations are all about. You're the expert. Eric, thank you very much for coming in.
It's always nice to see you, Dale.
This will be a lot of fun because technology, communication, for most people out on the street, they see the truck go by, they see the hoses and the fire and the physical aspect of firefighting, but there's so much technology, and it starts from the minute dispatch makes the call to your stations and en route and at the scene. So let's try to break it all down. Equipment is critical, and we'll get there, but let's talk about the communication. Explain CAD, the computer-aided dispatching.
That's a great place to start. And actually, out of all the technology, that's some of the technology that's been around the longest. Lincoln has had a computer-aided dispatch system for quite some time. And it's not just one system, it's actually a lot of components. And the computer-aided dispatching is exactly what it sounds like. There still is a person that answers the telephone when you call 911, a dispatcher. But they use the system to more efficiently dispatch out whatever the need may be, whether it be law enforcement or fire department. It recognizes where the call comes from, the location of the call, and it knows what apparatus to send for that area. So it's sending the closest unit to that call. That way we can get to the emergency much quicker. Obviously, using a computer makes that process a lot more. It doesn't fail, so it's an important and a part of our system. Yeah.
Takes the human factor out, doesn't it?
Yes.
The possibility for mistake.
Somewhat. I don't want to detract from our dispatchers because our dispatchers here in Lincoln are incredible. I actually, one of my responsibilities with the fire department is to liaison with the 911 center, and that's kind of underneath my responsibilities for technology, but it's amazing to go down there and watch the dispatchers, but how they use the technology. Computer-aided dispatch assists them with asking the questions that will determine how quick we need to respond. Obviously, we don't want to respond with our lights and sirens any more than we have to. It's one of the most dangerous parts of our job is just getting to the call. We want to make sure that we only do that when we need to, and computer-aided dispatching in conjunction with the dispatcher's good judgment help us do that.
Props to dispatchers.
Absolutely.
I'm privileged to be able to hear the conversations between dispatchers and the rigs as they leave. Mm-hmm. They stay on the phone with the person. Sometimes, let me use an example of a cooking fire. Mm-hmm. You're going out, you're leaving the station, you're assuming the worst. Mm-hmm. The dispatch stays on the phone with the person. We've got it out, but you roll onto the scene anyway just to make sure.
Absolutely,
and you know that when you get there.
Oh, we absolutely trust them with our lives. There's no doubt about it. Our dispatchers use a component of CAD to actually provide medical care over the phone. They can direct the people that have called 911 on how to do CPR if they're not trained in it, or how to open a person's airway that's not breathing. So our dispatchers are pretty top-notch, and by having that CAD technology, that computer-aided dispatching technology to assist them, they all have a lot to offer us.
How do you use, police have had this for a while, the dash cams. How do you use, what benefit comes from your dash cams?
Yeah, we actually just started using the dash cameras, and that would be slide 11 through 13. We use the...
This is a great view, by the way.
Yeah.
This is, for someone who likes speed and skill, these are good slides.
Yeah. The dash cameras are exactly what the police use. The police use them for a different reason than we use them. They're using them as kind of a digital witness, per se. They pull somebody over for a traffic stop, or they're dealing with somebody that might be unruly and they might make an accusation. It's a digital witness for them. For us, we use it completely differently, even though it's the exact same technology. We use it obviously to just film the emergency scene, to go back and be able to use it for training. If it's a car accident, we can sit down with our firefighters and we can go through how they did the extrication. And talk about if maybe we could have done it a better way. And then we also can take that video and we can stream the video wirelessly, and I can watch it from home. So as an off-duty, I'm never off-duty. When you're a chief, you're never off-duty. But every time we respond to a fire incident in the city of Lincoln, I'm notified, even if it's my day off. And if I want to, when I usually do, I usually go over to my computer, pull it up, see what they've got, and I can actually see what the chief is seeing that's on duty, and I can hear what's going on inside the command vehicle, the chief's car, if you will, and I can say to myself, it looks like we're going to have a pretty big fire. He's going to need some extra chiefs there, and then we can go and start moving in to take care of that incident. So,
I know most people. Again, I use the word privileged because it is fascinating to listen to, but to hear an on-scene captain or a chief keep track of what's going on, A side, B side, C side, D side. You've got guys on the roof. You've got people that are still coming up, and everybody has a duty and a responsibility, and it's such a coordinated.
It is.
Dance.
My wife always says, EJ, that's my nickname, said, EJ, you can run the city, but, and she knows how complicated it is. You should be able to do this around the house. It is difficult, and I remember when I first became chief, it was very overwhelming, and it still can be. It's something that is learned over time. There's an art to it. Our people are our most valuable asset, my firefighters, and they do an incredible work, and I take their safety very, very seriously. So I put a lot of effort into maintaining accountability where they're at and what they're doing.
Yeah, it's all about people. We talk about people every time we do a show.
All
we
this
talk about
technology is great stuff, but it's nothing in comparison with the people that we have.
All right, Eric, that's out in the field.
Okay.
Chiefs have to talk to chiefs, captains to captains, firefighters. Everybody's got to know what's going on, and in order to get on the same page, you have video conferencing, a system called Polycam. Talk about that.
Yeah, Polycom.
Polycom.
It was actually, Polycom is a video conferencing system. It is in every single one of my fire stations. It's on most of my desktops in fire administration. There's also Polycom units down in the Emergency Operations Center. There's Polycom units in several of the city departments. Polycom and Polycom is on slides 5 through 8.
I believe we're looking at one right now.
Oh, excellent. Yes, you can see the on-duty chief in that picture is actually doing a shift briefing. We do a shift briefing every day with the firefighters that are on duty for that 24-hour shift. And what's great about the shift briefing, this is something we should do via telephone.
There's the matrix, the broken. Is that all?
Yeah,
all
you can
10?
see. You can see. Well, there's
nearly
14
all of them,
fire
because
stations.
the chief is in the lower left corner.
There is, and it's usually at least all the fire stations, and then several of our administrative staff will go ahead and log in as well. But we can share, and here's me and the chief talking directly. It enables us to share documents, share video. We can put up visual aids to depict a risk that we might have identified in town that everybody needs to be aware of. But that's just for our 7:05 briefing in the morning, which usually lasts about 20 minutes. But we use it throughout the day. We'll use it for training. We use it quite a bit for training. It's so important that my apparatus are in service, in quarters, ready to respond to a call as much as possible. And to be able to provide the training that is necessary for them to keep their skills up and to keep their certification and licensure for other skills. In the past, we've had to take them out of service, have them come down to the training center, and they're not available to respond readily to an emergency. This is one of the tools that we use to keep them in service, in quarters, ready to respond to your call as quickly as possible. especially as the fire department has become so much more efficient over the last 10 years. So this is one of the tools that enables us to do that. It's about an $800,000 system. It's a very expensive system. It's a very high quality system that was purchased all through a grant. So through an Assistance for Firefighters grant, we've had it now for about 2 years.
What is pictometry?
Pictometry. Now that's a technical one. And pictometry is a great tool. Pictometry is imaging that's done by an aircraft. They fly over the city. It's a lot like Google Earth on steroids. And not only do they take a high definition aerial picture of the city of Lincoln, they do so from multiple angles. And while they're taking the picture, they use a special laser beam called LiDAR. And that laser beam is measuring everything that it takes a picture of. And we use that quite a bit. I use it on the scene of emergencies a lot of times to see what's on the roof of a structure. You know, a lot of times on the roof of a structure, there's air conditioning units or other utilities are up on the roof, and all those things are more weight on a roof. And as a structure is on fire, it's going to fail quicker if you have more weight on the roof. Or many times I might use it to actually measure the distance between a structure to another structure, or what we would call an exposure. You know, our main goal after life safety at a fire incident is the conservation of property. We want to make sure that that fire doesn't spread to an adjacent structure. And sometimes from my vantage point, I don't get time to see all the sides of the fire. And depending on the pictometry picture, I'm able to say, you know what, we're going to have a problem over on the back side of the structure. It's so close. Or it looks like they have a propane tank in the backyard, or a garage that's very close to the structure. And then also we determine how much water we're going to need to put the fire out with based upon those measurements, so those laser measurements. There is a, I hate math, you know? It was my worst subject. My math teacher's watching this right now going, nah. But we'll actually
I worked hard to be a C student, Eric. I can relate.
But I'll use LiDAR at certain times to go ahead and determine the fire flows that we're going to need to put the fire out.
Public Safety Director Cassidy has talked about this from a law enforcement perspective.
Yes.
If he sends officers to a scene and they want to encompass a building or a structure, they don't know that there isn't an outbuilding, or from street side, you can't see what's behind it. You can't see maybe behind some shrubs or bushes. The pictometry picture allows them to be able to know that before they even advance.
They actually, when they do the flyover scans, they do so when there's no leaves on the trees and foliage, which is kind of nice because it really lets you see things. The neat thing about pictometry is if we were to have a disaster here in the city of Lincoln, I think they do a flyover within 24 hours. I know it's a really short time frame, and they'll do a flyover of the city of Lincoln, which will enable us on performing some type of damage assessment. It's part of the package that the city of Lincoln uses. The fire department isn't the only department, like you just said, that uses pictometry. Police use it. I'm sure the public works and planning and other city departments use it as well. But it is definitely an interesting piece of technology that's really nice to have.
I had a conversation with the police chief about security cameras downtown. How does the fire department benefit from street cameras?
Well, that's a great question, and a lot of things we're going to talk about today, both the police department and fire department use interchangeably. The police department uses and has used video conferencing for quite a while. I know that the 14th and O Street traffic cameras have been talked about in the media lately. Again, same technology, completely different use with the fire department. The other day we had a car accident, a bad one, over on 84th and Holdridge area. And as soon as the call came in, I'm sitting at my computer at my desk, or I can even do this from home. As soon as the call came in, I'm able to get into the street cam. And I got on the radio and communicated to the units that were responding, hey, it looks like this is a pretty bad accident. It looks like one person's trapped in the car. And all this is great information to have as fast as possible. That way we know we have the resources that we need as quick, for when we arrive on location. So it's really neat technology, and we're going to talk about this more in a few minutes, but all of these systems are starting to work more and more together. CAD, geospatial information, live streaming video technology. I will think that in my career, I'll get dispatched to a car accident, 84th and O. I'll get in the chief's car, and I'll have video in front of me as to what's going on right now. We're not too far away from that. So that the traffic camera, their main purpose was to do just that, monitor traffic. They're run by Public Works. They are useful for police and fire as well.
In-vehicle video recording, audio recording, all of this, I'm guessing, is to go back to see for training purposes?
Absolutely.
More than anything?
Absolutely. I remember we had in-car video, our J Street fire we had, I believe, in July of this last year, and you know, we were able to take a look at that fire, and that fire was an interesting fire in the sense that I believe there was 5 or 6 people rescued out of there. LPD did a tremendous job. Some of the officers did some rescues when they arrived on location. They were there before we were, and the fire department arrived on location, did some rescues as well. We were able to take that video and we're able to really pick apart our performance after the fact, which is so important. It's much akin to the Huskers football team sitting down after a big game and looking at their play-by-play video. Tremendous training tool for us. Tremendous training tool.
Eric, what is AVL? Automatic Vehicle Location.
Great. It's not new. It's been around for a while. Anybody that had an internet connection and a handheld GPS device had essentially AVL. The problem is 10, 15 years ago, it was absolutely unaffordable. We wanted it 15 years ago. We saw the potential in it. Knowing where your apparatus are at, ensuring that you're sending the closest unit. From the perspective of responding to an incident, when we have a fire, we have 5 fire trucks responding to it. How are other units getting there? Are we both approaching an intersection at the same time? There's a lot of pieces to that AVL puzzle. It has become so inexpensive. Interesting. You can go buy an AVL system off the shelf. We actually did one even better. We started working with the University of Nebraska, and we have developed, and we're still in the stages of development, an AVL system that is tailored specifically for public safety, as opposed to a trucking firm that uses AVL to track their fleet. It's been a really interesting project. Right now, the lead it's a lead project over at the university, so the students are working on it. But we use it every single day. I'm able to follow where apparatus are at on my telephone, on my smartphone. So very, very useful piece of equipment for us.
Let's go back in history. Was there a time where your people rolling up to a fire would have used paper maps? Or a catalog
Yes.
that with maybe
Yeah.
a flip chart that had different quadrants of the city and different sections,
Yeah.
and use a flip map?
Dale, I'm not a spring chicken. I know that I look very young. When I got on the fire department, part of my training was to memorize the streets. We would sit down in front of the chalkboard, and the captain would be there, and he'd say, Firefighter Jones, get up and draw zone 103. So I would go up to the chalkboard and I'd draw the streets on the chalkboard, and that's how we did it. And we did have paper maps in the fire apparatus as well. Lincoln's a pretty fast-growing city. It's hard to maintain those maps, but we did, and it was difficult, and it took a lot of time. Today, when you get into an apparatus, you have the maps in front of you on a computer, and not only are they available via the internet. If the internet goes down, they're actually saved to the hard drive on each one of those computers as a backup. So as the planning department annexes an area town, we have a GIS specialist, a geographical information specialist that works for the fire department that updates those maps and is able to go ahead and push that out to our apparatus.
All right, you told us how you keep track of your rigs across the city. Someone asked me this the other day, and it's timely that we're sitting down to talk about this. How do they know where my house is? How do they know the fastest way to get to my house?
Absolutely. We don't have any mapping yet in terms of this is the quickest way to get to your house. What happens a lot of times is, I had a call the other day, and it says it seemed like the fire trucks drove around my neighborhood for a long time and they couldn't find the house. So I go back and I pull the AVL data. I can go back in history and see the routes that the apparatus took to get to the house. And when you have apparatus responding from different directions, a lot of times it sounds like as it echoes through the neighborhood, it sounds like fire trucks bouncing off, or the sirens bouncing off all the houses. When in fact that they're going straight to the address. So it's a great way for us to check and make sure that we are in fact going directly to the places we need to go. AVL eventually will map the call for us as we improve the abilities of our CAD system. Those two things will work together to.
Is that different?
help us
I'm
get
sorry,
there.
Eric, didn't mean to interrupt. Is
No.
that different than mobile data computers?
Yeah, it is. AVL is different than our mobile data computers. Our mobile data computers that sit in front of us each of our fire apparatus, engines, trucks, and medic units, all have a mobile data computer. It looks like a laptop, sits right in front of the front seat passenger.
We're seeing one right now.
Yep, it has all of, that's exactly it, and that's in the front seat of a fire apparatus. That not only gives us all the CAD information, it's tied in with CAD, but all the maps that are digitally on those as well. In addition to, that would be the CAD that you're looking at right now. You can see the information on the call for the call that they're responding to. In addition to that, we do have all of our pre-plan and business inspection information are on those as well. Any maps that we might have done for a specific structure. I believe I have one for Best Buy on there. It's the old Best Buy. I didn't want to put anybody's business on there on 48th Street, but we can reference that information. Those are maps specifically that we use for tactical information when we're at a call there. This is where we can shut down the electricity. This is where the water comes in the building. This is where the sprinkler system controls are. So very good information for us, all on the mobile data computer.
Let's talk about equipment. Take me into the world of geographic information systems.
Yes, and we call it GIS. That's the long term is Geographical Information Systems. The neat part about GIS is and when I explain it to people, it's a way to take information and display it as a picture. One of the things that's been talked about quite a bit in the last couple of years is our station optimization plan. And what we do is we use data in our records management system. It's generated historically through medical reports and CAD information and response times. And we take all that and we feed it into a GIS system, all that data, and we're able to determine where we can make improvements, how we can take the resources, and that was the goal behind the station optimization plan was how can we take the resources we have now and put them to best use them get the most bang for our buck out of them. And we would not have been able to do that without utilizing GIS. GIS is a big part of our accreditation process. It's a great way for us to measure our performance and identify risks within the city. So we use GIS quite a bit. The fire department, as I said, has its own GIS analyst. So it's really nice to be able to find ways to make us better.
When you first got into the business, would you have ever thought that there would have been a piece of equipment such as the thermal imaging devices that would be able to give so much information to a firefighter?
No, and
that's amazing.
Let's take a look at our thermal imagers. That's 27 through 30. Thermal imaging, it's not new, but it is so useful in the fire service, and we've had thermal imaging for quite a while. If people that aren't familiar with thermal imaging, if you've ever watched cops on TV and you can see it through the dark, from the helicopter, that's what thermal imaging is. It's looking at a spectrum of light that is invisible to the human eye. You can't see through anything. In fact, it won't even see through glass. It only sees the surface of glass. Can't see through a window with it or anything like that. But what it allows us to do is look through smoke like it's not even there. When you go and put out a fire, and you're in the house and you're putting out the fire, you might as well just close your eyes. There's no need to even open your eyes when it's so dark. There's no lights. The smoke is so thick and heavy. It's just like walking around with your eyes closed. Thermal imaging allows us to see through the smoke entirely. So we can take a look in a bedroom very quickly and see if there's a person in there. And it's just looking at the difference in temperature between the person and the surroundings.
Picks up on heat.
Absolutely. We can look at a house from the outside and we can tell where the fire's at in the house. And you know, it looks like it's more towards the back of the house. It's definitely up in the roof, and you can tell that by looking at it with thermal imaging. In addition to fire, there's a lot of other applications for thermal imaging that we use. And there's a picture in there of a spill in a creek. And in that creek, you can see the hazards. If you look in the inset picture, that's the picture to eye. It just looks like a normal creek. But if you look at it with thermal imaging technology or a thermal imager, you can actually see the hazardous material flowing through the creek. Kind of an interesting application. I can look at a tank, and I can see if the chemicals inside the tank are reacting, or I can see how much chemical is actually inside that tank. So you can see the tank car there, and if the tank car was leaking, I could sit there and look at it and say, well, the tank car is about 30% full, and I'll have an idea how much product I have in there and how much of a problem I'm going to have.
Your hazmat team likes that.
They do.
Likes that a lot.
Absolutely, and we use it. Thermal imaging is a big part of our hazmat team. So.
Different types of defib machines for the medical experts.
Yeah, you know, defibrillation technology has really come a long ways, and Lincoln Fire Department, Lincoln Fire and Rescue does a tremendous job with EMS. I tell people that if you're going to have a stroke or heart attack, Lincoln's a place to do that. And the chief's like, well, you know, EJ, you really shouldn't say that. But they do an excellent job, and part of it is some of the technology that we use. We use a device called a LifePak 15, and in many ways it's just like the automated external defibrillator AED that someone might see on the wall at a YMCA. It acts in that capacity. What it does is it shocks the heart when it has a rhythm or is not beating properly into a rhythm that, you know, pumps blood throughout our body, keeps us going when somebody's having a heart attack or something like that. For my BLS providers, it acts just like an AED, an automated external defibrillator, but it has many, many more capabilities. We have gone past the days of stopping at the emergency room with these patients that are having heart attacks, and we can actually diagnose people that are having MIs out in the field and get them to the cath lab much quicker. In fact, many of these patients we take directly to the cath lab based upon the quality of the EKG readings that we're getting out in the field. Many times we will do a 12-lead EKG out in the field just like they would do at the hospital when you go to the hospital with chest pain. These LifePak 15s actually push that information to the hospital, can be read by the emergency room physician or cardiologist while we're on scene with the patient. And the whole thing with these cardiac patients is restoring that oxygen-rich blood supply back to the affected part of their hearts. They use what we call a biphasic shock, and every time you shock the heart, you risk injuring it a little bit. So you don't want to do it too strongly, and you don't want to do it any more times than you have to. The biphasic technology actually measures the resistance between the leads that the shock comes from, and only gives the required amount. These work with pediatric patients. For people that need a pacemaker, this machine will pace their heart for them. It is amazing. The technology is, I mean, from when I started, it's incredible. The LifePak 15 measures the oxygen in your blood. It also measures the carboxyhemoglobin, which is when your red blood cells take up carbon monoxide. So people that have a carbon monoxide detector that's going off in their house, we can use a LifePak 15 to measure that amount of carboxyhemoglobin in their blood to see if, in fact, they have been exposed to carbon monoxide. These LifePak 15s use capnography, where they can measure the amount of CO2 that is given off when you're breathing. Incredible technology. And when I started, you would only see in the hospital, and even then, not all the time. So it is a great tool to allow us to provide extremely high-level patient care out in the field.
Well, we've relived a little of the past, and we've talked about the present. What's in the future?
Well, I'm excited about the future.
What's on your Christmas list?
Well, you know, and you say that, and we say that tongue-in-cheek, Christmas list.
Yes.
There's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of technology that's out there that we're just not ready yet. It's very important that, for example, AVL technology 10 years ago was millions of dollars. Today, I can go out and get AVL technology for $10 per apparatus per month.
That's amazing.
So the latest and the greatest doesn't always mean that it's the right time. Also, when you introduce technology, especially into an organization like Lincoln Fire and Rescue or any public safety organization for that matter, you really have to look at it and say, is this really doing what we need it to do? How is it going to benefit us? I mean, gizmos and gadgets are great, but only when they do something for us. I see more analytical software, much like our FireView system. We have a FireView dashboard system, which provides us with real-time analysis of department performance. It uses GIS technology as well. And then another thing I see coming down the road is a geospatially aware CAD system. A CAD system that not only knows what units are closest to a given address within an area, but also knows exactly where the apparatus are, whether they're in the station or not. For example, if I have a rig that's stationed on the northeast part of town and they're doing training on the southwest part of town, and we have an incident on the southwest part of town, it recognizes that rig's in the southwest part of town and will send them there. So I see that as a big thing. Again, I think that you're going to see other technology tied into GIS. We'll see a video of the car accident as we're pulling out of the station and able to send the correct resources and whether it's an emergent or non-emergent response. I think we're going to see more cost-effective mobile technology. Right now, to put the technology I have in the rigs costs around $10,000, maybe even a little bit more than that. We are just starting to beta test tablet technology in the apparatus at a fraction of the cost. There were many components to the mobile data that we have in our apparatus today. There's modems, there's sonic walls to protect data, there's GPS antennas. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And today, that technology is all combined into a tablet, no different than like an iPad tablet. It's more mobile. It's a lot easier for my firefighters to step off the rig with a tablet in their hand and do data entry on scene than it is for them to work off of a computer back at the station. So we're actually just starting that now. Lincoln Police Department's doing the exact same thing. We work very closely with them to keep each other apprised of the things that are working and not working when it comes to technology. One of the things that my firefighters do is every year they're out in every business in the community. They go out and do business inspections. They'll go out and they'll walk through business, and then when they're done at the end of the day, they come back to the fire station. They spend hours doing data entry on all of the business inspections they had. And with this tablet technology, I want them to be able to go out and do the data entry, which is good data that we use, as they're doing the business inspection or as they're doing a pre-plan for a potential incident. I want them to be able to take that information and enter it and get back to the station and do something more productive than data entry. Maybe it be training or whatever it may be. I see that is just around the corner. Departments are already starting to implement that now, and I'd like to bring that to Lincoln as well. I think the work that we do out there is important, and I just want to make sure we're doing it as efficiently as we can. Accountability, and there's a neat slide in there. I think it's slide 40. This technology is here today, and we could go get this technology today. It's sort of like the AVL technology a long time ago. And Dale, if you look at the picture, we see a three-dimensional picture of the building there, and you can see where the firefighters are located in that building. When there's a fire and nobody can see where they're at, it's very important that we keep track of our people. And this would give us a real-time ability to see where everybody's at a fire scene. And like you said a few minutes ago, with all the confusion with where the firefighters are and how you keep track of them, this would be a really great tool to do that with. Right now, the device hooks onto their breathing apparatus. It's about the size of a loaf of bread, requires a completely separate $3,500 radio to run the system. It's just not, the technology is just not compact enough. Just not affordable enough yet. I'm always interested in technology that increases our safety. And I think that will be a great addition down the road. But it's sort of like automatic vehicle locating. Technology just needs to continue to be developed.
Technology is no good if it comes with bugs.
Amen.
And that's why I know I've had conversations with the chief, Eric, and it's sometimes it's smart to wait.
It is.
Let other cities and communities work out the bugs.
Absolutely.
And then let's get it when it's more efficient and
It
more
is.
than likely at a cheaper price.
Absolutely. What's, I agree. You definitely need to let the technology mature for a period of time. What I'm excited about, though, is I'm excited of the partnerships that we're forming, whether it be with another fire department that's trying something new, whether it be with the police department on some different brands of equipment that they're using to try to do the same thing we are, whether it be the University of Nebraska. I've got to tell you, these rake school students that are working on this technology, I thought I was a nerd and knew all there was to know about technology. You spend a few moments with a 20-year-old kid that knows how to build apps for your iPhone that can run all of these things, make you feel pretty dumb pretty quick. I get really excited when we make those partnerships to continue to develop these technologies that will help us deliver better service in the future.
Lincoln Fire and Rescue, saving time, saving money, and saving lives with technology. Thanks, Eric, very much.
Thank you, Dale. It's always good to see you.
Battalion Chief Eric Jones joining me today on Lincoln Fire and Rescue.